From Bvtv Studios on the campus of Buena Vista University in Storm Lake, Iowa, this is Bvtv News. Thanks for joining us for another semester of Bvtv News. I'm Autumn McLean. As of January 29th, BVU has 0 cases of COVID-19, and students were tested for COVID as they arrived to campus for second semester. This helped mitigate the spread of the virus, and all students who tested positive upon arrival have recovered. President Dr. Brian Lensmeyer elaborated on the mitigation process.
We don't have any cases. 0 students, 0 employees. That will change. It will go up. We will have cases, but we're at 0, which is remarkable. And a lot of that's due to the students being willing to come in and get tested right before classes started.
As of January 29th, the no visitation policy put into effect for the first 2 weeks of school has been lifted. Visitation resumes with a 1-to-1 ratio in the dorms and a maximum of 8 people in a suite.
And the fact that, we really haven't had cases, it makes it a really easy decision. Even if we'd have been at 5 cases, it would have been an easy decision. But we have to walk that line between allowing students to have the freedom so they can hang out with their friends, have good mental health, enjoy the college experience. That's important. So finding that balance is always going to be tricky.
BVU plans to provide students, faculty, and staff with COVID-19 vaccines and administer them on campus.
I'll tell you that, as soon as those vaccines become available, we are already set up with the infrastructure to do a mass vaccination clinic, to do like we did with the rapid testing. I would bet in a period of 2 days, we could vaccinate every student and every employee who wanted a vaccine.
BVU mitigated the spread of COVID-19 by requiring testing for all students returning to campus. A majority of students returned to residential living at BVU on Sunday, January 17th. All students were tested for COVID-19 immediately upon arrival to campus. Students were directed to the Lamberti Recreation Center for testing.
We are doing rapid testing today, which means students, once they've been tested, will know their results within 15 to 20 minutes. We've got over 40 employees involved in this process. And right now we're moving through about 10 students every 5 minutes.
After months of planning, the testing process was quick and efficient. Here's Lori Stanton with more.
We have about 375 students that are coming through our process today, and we're just trying to keep things going normal for the semester for students. So we ask that people social distance, wear their masks when appropriate, try to keep the 6 feet apart. Good hand washing is really important, so we can try to keep our students here this semester.
BVU has been approved as a storage site for COVID-19 vaccines. BVU hopes to offer vaccines to all students, faculty, and staff by the end of the spring semester. Here's Dr. Tom Bonagura with more.
So our goal is to vaccinate everybody on campus, to put it in the big picture perspective. Part of that was not only being a vaccine storage site for the county and the region, but also we have our health services department as a certified vaccine site. So that allows us to vaccinate people on campus, and the goal was to vaccinate everybody by the end of the semester.
Over 600 students were tested for COVID-19 at BVU in the month of January. Of those, only 9 students tested positive, and those students have recovered. BVU has now eliminated cases of COVID-19 on campus as of Friday, January 29th. Former Vice President for Student Success, Dr. Lucy Croft, abruptly resigned from her position on January 4th. Nicholas Piccolo, a recent retiree, is now the Interim Vice President for Student Success. Previously, he served as the Vice President for Student Life at Alma College for 14 years. Here's what he had to say about transitioning into his new role at BV.
People have been welcoming. The students have been very friendly. So it's mostly finding my way around both geographically and administratively, who's where and what do they do and that kind of thing. So, but folks have been most helpful. So that part has been pretty easy.
An article written by Blake McMillan goes more in depth about the recent resignation of Dr. Lucy Croft. You can read this article by visiting bvtac.com. BVU has restructured classroom settings to allow for proper social distancing. Some classrooms on campus this semester are unconventional, to say the least. Check out an opinion article focused on the functionality of these classrooms by visiting the TAC online. On January 20th, BVU celebrated a day of remembrance for civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. In his memory, an event was organized to allow students the opportunity to give back to the community. Joshua Wolcott reports on this special day of volunteering.
Junior Day, students and faculty dedicate themselves to a day of service across campus. One of the ways that they serve is packaging meals through the Upper Des Moines Opportunity.
Students and faculty packaged meals together from 2 to 4 p.m. on Martin Luther King Jr. Day while maintaining the policies that are in place for the university to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. AmeriCorps Community Engagement Coordinator Lena Grip explains what brought the students together for this day of service.
Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and this year the Office of Community Engagement is hosting meal packaging. They're rice meal kits, and we're going to be donating them to Upper Des Moines here in Storm Lake.
Lena offered us her view of what service means to her.
Service to me means when you have the means that maybe somebody else doesn't have, any way that you can give back, I think just makes a really big impact on your community.
Kamidra Grimes, a student at the event, still believes that Martin Luther King Jr.'s influence is still very much prevalent today.
I believe Martin Luther King Jr.'s influence is still here today because his fire of nonviolence to promote social justice is something that rings true with everything that's been happening recently.
With community-wide service, Beavers do their part in commemorating one of the leading civil rights activists of the last century. I'm Joshua Wolcott, Bvtv News.
The inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris took place on January 20th. We asked two professors at BV with background in political science to comment on what this means for the future of American democracy.
This is a very hopeful time in America, and the inauguration itself was clearly intentionally designed to shine a bright light on that hopefulness. To quote Gerald Ford way back in the day, our national nightmare is over. We are moving forward. We're going to undo some of the things that have been done the last 4 years and move forward. So I think that the impact of having a whole bunch of executive orders signed very, very quickly, once again, was quite intentional.
Kamala Harris is now the highest-ranking female official in U.S. history, as well as the first African-American and first Asian-American vice president.
I think Kamala Harris is going to have not only be the first African-American South Asian woman president, but she's going to have not a post that is just sit there and read the newspaper and check on the president's health. It's going to be much more vigorous and with much more I think, political heft behind it. And so I think that's going to be remarkable, too.
And now, for the first time, let's give a warm welcome to Austin West as he presents us with all the sports updates you need to know. Austin?
After a quiet fall semester in terms of athletics, Buena Vista's spring semester has become the exact opposite of quiet. With a total of 12 athletic teams competing in the second half of the academic year, student athletes are busier than ever. Campus has already seen the starts of a few of the BV athletic seasons, such as men's and women's basketball, wrestling, and the newly established BVU esports team. Men's basketball, led by head coach Trevor Johnson, have only been able to play 2 games so far due to postponements and cancellations, starting their season by picking up an 82-78 win over conference rival Wartburg just under a week ago. The winning streak continued as BV earned a double-digit win over Simpson 88-72 after being led by true freshman Zane Newbaum with 23 points. In the game against Wartburg, senior Michael DeMars helped the Beavers to a win with all 21 of his points coming in the second half, along with 2 assists and a steal, earning himself American Rivers Conference Player of the Week, the first of his career. Wrestling is also off to a hot start, as currently standing at 2-0 after 2 dual wins against their arch rivals, the Simpson Storm and the Nebraska Wesleyan Prairie Wolves, earning a combined total of 6 pins between the 2 duels. 1 pin came from senior Diego Huerta in his first year on the wrestling team, as he defeated his Prairie Wolf opponent for his first career victory. As for the women's basketball team, they faced off earlier this week against Central, another American Rivers Conference opponent, but got dealt a tough loss 93-76 to the Dutch. However, sophomore Olivia Larson led the way with the game-high 24 points in the season debut for the Beavers. The new BVU esports team has already had their fair share of tournaments so far, most recently facing off against the University of Illinois, yes, that University of Illinois, in their second match of a Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege tournament. The Beavers would fall 2-0 to the Fighting Illini, Beavers now standing at 0-2 on the season. There are plenty of athletic events kicking off in February as well, as late in the semester with teams including track and field, baseball, and softball, and delayed fall sports including football, soccer, and volleyball will begin their seasons later this semester. Lots of events for Beaver fans to be excited about all spring long. One team has been hit by another big change this semester as BV's track and field former head coach Colt Slack resigned earlier this offseason. Slack looks back on his decision to leave Buena Vista.
It was a tough decision. It was a really hard decision, leaving BV, mainly because I love that place. I love Storm Lake. We love that community. We really enjoyed BVU, me and my family. But honestly, the biggest decision of leaving was to get we have a 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. And so getting our children closer to, their grandparents and our family members.
Same thing applies what I told him last year. Like if he feels led and his heart is leading him to do something else and God is leading him to take his family and do something else, then go for it. I support you, and I hope that the rest of the team supports him in doing what's best for him and his family.
Well, he told something that he built in our minds is, be better than yesterday. So I feel like, these practices are, real focus and knowing that, he still has our back. And so we're going in with this season, giving it our all.
This spring is set to be one of the busiest athletic seasons BV's campus has ever seen. And as a sports fan, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, excited to see sports up and running again. Well, that will conclude our first newscast of the spring 21 semester. Wash your hands, wear your mask, and we'll see you next time.